So when you're solving a mixture problem, you got to think about two different things. You've got stuff being mixed together, and part of it is what's being mixed in. In this case, we got an alloy, so that's your whole thing being mixed together. And then you've got aluminum, which is what's being mixed into it. So when you're with this problem, for instance, when you're thinking about this, you got to think about when you're adding these together, you're supposed to get 800 pounds total, but then you're supposed to get a certain total of aluminum, and we got to figure out how that's going to work. So oftentimes I recommend to people try guessing first. Maybe it's 300 of one and 500 of the other, but then you'd have to figure out, well, how much aluminum is in there. So this one is 10% aluminum, and this one's 40% aluminum. Okay. So if we have our guesses of 300 and 500, we've got to figure out, well, is it true that 10% of 300, which is the amount of aluminum in the first one, plus 40% of 500, which is the amount of aluminum in the second one, does that total up to the right amount of aluminum? Well, this is 30 plus 200, okay, so 230. Is that the right amount of aluminum? Well, how do you know? The ticket is right here. You need the alloy to be 22% aluminum, okay, but 22% is not an amount. You need to make sure it's 22% of 800. Okay? So first calculate 22% of 800. Okay? It's 176. Okay? And so since we were supposed to get 176, our guess was wrong. Okay? So what you can do is continue guessing numbers for here and there and make sure they add up to 800 until you get it right. Or another option is to say, look, what if I just replace those with A and B, and we know it's supposed to equal 176, and also A and B are supposed to add up to 800. Okay? So you've got a skill here where you can solve systems. Let me rewrite this other equation here. 10% of A plus 40% of B is 176, and now you can use your skills of system solving to answer that question. I'm going to put it over here on a new page and rewrite it. A plus B is 800, and 10% of A plus 40% of B is 176. And now let's figure out some way to solve it. I think what I'm going to do is just to make sure this is cleaned up a bit is multiply this by 10 and get A plus 4B is 1760. And then I can just rewrite the top equation. A plus B is 800. And now I can solve this system easily by just subtracting. If you don't mind, I'm going to subtract up. 4B minus 1B is 3B. And 1760 minus 800 is 960. I believe. Let me check that just to make sure. Seem to have lost my calculator.
Want me to subtract it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's 960. Okay. So then you can solve for B by dividing by 3, and that's going to get you 320. Okay. So now you know that you need 320 pounds of B, and then since they have to add together to get 800, this one's going to be 480 of A. So the answer is going to be 320 of the, let's see, what was that? B was 320, okay, B was the second one. So 320 of that. Okay, and 480 of that. And you're done.